Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samapprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। Namaste once again to all of you. So Adi Shankara is trying to explain how we have to separate the Atma from Anatma, not physically, cognitively, in our mind, in our understanding, how we should understand Atma as being different from all the Anatmas, especially our Shariratrayam, the body, mind, sense complex, or Panchakosha. And in that process, we saw the 19th shloka towards the end of last class. Vyapriteshu indriyeshu atma vyapara iva avivekinam drishyate. This is what he said, right? So, what was referred to as vrittis in the previous shloka? In vritti, we took the meaning as functions. You remember, not thoughts, functions. That same thing here he is referring to as vyapara. Right? He says this vyaparams or functions or the transactions or the activities belonging to this anatma, they belong to this indriyas alone. Indriyams means, we know, jnanendriyam, karmendriyam, and also the antakara. So they belong to all these transactions, they belong to only these indriyas. And in fact, in Bhagavad Gita, in the 5th chapter, Bhagavan Krishna, the same idea is given. In fact, here, I think Adi Shankara has taken this idea from Bhagavad Gita. There he says, Na eva kinchit karomi iti yuktaha manyeta tattvavit pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran etc. And then the last line of the second sloka, following sloka, it says, Indriyani indriyarteshu vartante iti dharayan. So may you understand that all these activities and all that are all activities of the body, mind, sense complex, not activities of the Atma. So, na kinchit karomiti yuktaha manyeta tattvavita. The tattvavita, a person who knows the tattvam, the Brahma, Siddhanta. What is Brahman? That I am Brahman. Who knows that, he also knows that I don't do anything. As Atma, I am totally silent. I don't do anything at all. What all is happening in the body, mind, sense complex, in all the indriyas. And then what happens? Those actions which are being, or functions which are being done by the body, mind, sense complex, because of Aviveka, I take it upon myself. I am superimposing upon myself. So that is why I say I am doing, I am walking, I am speaking and all. So this is what is being said here, right? So bahya antara indriyeshu vyapriteshu. So vyapriteshu means what? Activities. In their activities, Atma is what? Avyapritah sakshi chaitanya matra. So Atma is just the consciousness principle. There is no activity in the Atma. So even though this is a fact, what is happening is when Indriyas are doing their activities, they are moving, and when I am observing it close by, gradually I get identified with that, and after some time I feel as though, that's why he say iva, as though I am moving or I am doing all the actions. So that's why he says indriyeshu vyapriteshu satsu. When all the sense organs are functioning, Atma vyapari iva, like a person who is doing, who is a functioner, if I can use that word, right? Atma appears to be functioning. And for whom this appearance is there? He says avivekina. Avivekina means mandanam, balanam, alpapragyanam, who do not know their real self. For such people, the Agyanis, this is what happens. Because they don't know the difference between Atma and Anatma. And for that, he gives an example also. What example he says? Abreshu davatsu davanniva yata shashi is the example he gives. Abreshu means clouds. When the abreshu davatsu, when the clouds are moving, the moon is stationary. We all know that moon doesn't move. But when we observe the clouds moving, it appears as if the moon is moving in the opposite direction. Isn't it? This is a fact. I mean, this is our experience. So, actually the moon is stationary. Similarly, the Atma doesn't do anything. But when closely associated with these Indriyas, Atma appears to be doing all the functions that the Indriyas are doing. And that is the consequence of being an Ajnani. Right. So the activity of the clouds are superimposed on the moon. The movement of the clouds are superimposed on the moon. And we think that at least we get a sort of a feeling that the moon is actually moving. Similarly, all the functions of the Indriyas are superimposed on the Atma, and we get a feeling that it is Atma which is doing all these things. And this phenomenon, there are so many examples we experience this phenomenon. For example, in a train journey, we are sitting inside a train in one compartment. And one side there is nothing, other side there is another train which is there. And what happens is one of our family members might have actually gone down to the platform to fetch some water. And we are sitting there and watching the train on the other side. And suddenly our train seems to be moving. We get panicky. Oh my God, our family member so-and-so has gone down to get water and our train has started moving. But actually speaking, our train is not moving at all. It is the other train which is moving, which gives us a feeling as if our train is moving. Isn't it? We must have experienced this number of times now. So this movement of the other train, because of our lack of awareness of what our actual situation is, which is stationary, we superimpose on us, on our train, and we feel our train is moving and we get panicky. That is why all our fears, all our guilt, all our this, because all this fear, guilt, everything belongs to the Anatma. We are superimposing it on ourselves and we get panicky. Oh my God, I have got this big problem. Panic. I have to rush to the doctor. I have to rush to the hospital. Panic. If we just sit back and say, okay, there is a problem with my body-mind complex that needs to be addressed. I can't leave it like that. Because I am living in the body-mind complex. As Atma, that is my ayatana. I can't just leave it like that. But there is no need to panic. I have to go. Whatever I need to do, I will do. I means in my presence, the body-mind complex only do that. I don't do anything. But the point is that there is no need to panic. Taking it upon oneself. That's the message, right? Similarly, we say the station has come. When we are traveling in a train, we say station has come. Has the station come? Station is there only. The train has come to the station. But the coming of the train, we superimpose on the station. And just say the station has come. Similarly, so many examples I can give. Sunrise. The sun has risen. Has the sun risen? Sun is always there. It is the earth which has gone down. So it appears as if the sun is rising. But the movement of the earth, we are superimposing on the sun and say sun is rising, sun is setting. So this is a very common problem. Why? Because we don't know what is the fact, what is the reality. Even when we know the reality, unless that reality sinks into us, goes into our subconscious, we will still continue to be thinking that the sun is rising, sun is setting. Even though we know, all of us know the sun doesn't move, it's the earth which is moving around the sun. So these are all the examples. So here he is giving the example of the cloud and the moon. So many examples we can see this particular phenomenon of superimposition. Superimposition of a movement of one object being that is the movement of one object being superimposed on another stationary object. It happens all the time. So many examples we can see, right? That's why he say yatha shashi iva dhavati tatha. So similarly, we are superimposing all the functions of the body-mind complex on ourselves. So this is the essence of this 19th shloka. Now we will go to the 20th shloka. Okay. Atma chaitanyamashritya dehendriyamanodhiyah swakriyarteshu vartante suryalokam yatha janah. So in the previous shloka, he said the Atma is avyaprita. That is, it is actionless. It does not have any vyapara. Then one may think that if that is the case, then what is the purpose of this Atma? In fact, there are other philosophies who say that Atma has no purpose. So Atma doesn't contribute anything at all. That is what one may be led to think. And they may be thinking that this Prakriti, that is the Maya, is capable of doing everything on its own. There is no need for this Atma or Brahman and all that. Right? And that is the Sankhya philosophy actually. They call it Pradhana. They said this Pradhana is Swatantra. It is independent. It has no dependence on Atma and all that, on Purusha. Purusha is independent. Pradhana is independent. Purusha has no role to play. Pradhana on its own can do everything. This is the Sankhya philosophy. Which of course is not what this Upanishads say, but it's their understanding of what the Upanishads say. Okay. So they say that matter can function itself. And consciousness is a separate principle. Matter is a separate principle. And matter is capable of evolving itself into the creation. Consciousness is not at all necessary. That is what they say. Right? But in Vedanta, we don't agree with that. We say that even though the Atma Chaitanya doesn't do anything, the presence of Atma Chaitanyam alone, in the presence of the Atma Chaitanyam alone, and because of the blessings of the Atma Chaitanyam alone, the matter or Prakriti or Maya or the Panchakoshas will function. Without Atma Chaitanyam, these are all jadam, inert, and they cannot function on their own. That is our mata. That's what Krishna also says, the 9th chapter. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam, he says. Mayadhyakshena, in my adhyakshata, in my presence, in my sannidhyam, alone, the entire Maya Prakriti, the whole cosmos functions. So, the adhyakshata, the sannidhyam is necessary. Atma's signature is necessary for anything to happen. Just like, some president assent is necessary for any act to become a act, effective. Similarly, the signature of this Brahman is very much necessary. Otherwise, nothing will happen. Because for any activity to happen, if you just analyze a little bit, there are two things which are necessary. One is existence. Satta is necessary. If a thing is not existing, how it can function? So existence is necessary. We call it satta. Then sentiency is necessary. Then only it can act. And that sentiency is provided by what? The consciousness, the chit aspect. So sat and chit both are necessary for any object to do its function. Whether it is eyes, ears, or whatever, indriyas you take, legs, any of them, they require, first of all, they should exist. And secondly, they should be sentient. And this existence, this sat and chit is provided by what? From where do they get it? Do they have it on their own? We have seen so many classes, they don't have it on their own. Isn't it? Even all objects which have sat do not have the mechanism to reflect the chit. Last class we saw Lalita Mami asked about dead body. Same thing. The capability to reflect the chit, to manifest the chit is gone. So there is only sat. We say dead body is. But dead body doesn't have any function. So that proves that this body-mind complex functions only when it is, the chit is there and this body-mind complex reflects that chit. And that reflection takes place in the mind, as we have already seen in earlier slokas. So this sat and chit is provided only by this Atma, and that is why everything is functioning. So this aspect we have to understand very clearly. Everything else is inert. Buddhi cannot think without Atma. Unless Atma gives the consciousness to the Buddhi for it to function in a thoughtful way, Buddhi cannot think because it is jada. So for all vyaparas, this Sat and Chit are necessary. So similarly, for all Panchakoshas, you can extend it to all the Panchakoshas. This is necessary, right? And Atma alone has to lend this Sat and Chit to all the Panchakoshas. And once they are added, the Panchakoshas can do anything, right? In fact, Swami Paramarthananda gives a very humorous example. He says that somebody is singing and not very good singing, but everybody thinks that I'm singing very nicely, isn't it? So that person comes and asks, how was the song? How did I sing? Now, you cannot say you sang very badly, isn't it? It won't be nice. So what people do, they will say, oh, it was very nice. Performance was very good, in fact. Then after a while, they will add that, if the Shruti was slightly better, it would have been much more. Your performance would have been very excellent. Then after some time, they will say, actually, if you had actually, the talam had been little better, the singing would have been very nice. Right? They will not straight away say that you didn't have Shruti, you didn't have talam in singing. But this is how people will say. So similarly, except for Shruti and the talam, everything was nice means what? So similarly, these two, without Sat and Chit, body is functioning, Panchakosha is functioning, is similar like that. It won't function, right? So the Atma is the one which provides them, right? So that's why he says, Atma Chaitanyam Ashritya, right? Chaitanyam Ashritya. Ashritya means depending on, having its ashraya, right? Depending on the Atma Chaitanyam, the Atma Satta alone, Dehendriya Mano Dhiyaha. Dhiyaha means Buddhi, right? So, Deha, Indriya, Manaha, Dhiyaha. 4 koshas, yes, out of Pancha koshas, yes, this, Annamaya kosha, Deha. Then Pranamaya kosha, Indriyas. All the faculties, Pancha Prana, Pancha Karmendriya, Pancha Jnanendriya. Then Manaha. And Dhiyaha means Buddhi. So, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha. All 4 koshas he has covered. Anandamaya kosha, it isn't covered here. But we should understand that also, Anandamaya kosha also functions because of the Atma Chaitanya, presence of the Atma Chaitanya. Right? And these 4, this Dehendriya Mano Dhiyaha, Swakriyarteshu Vartante. They remain in their respective functions, Swakriya. Swakriyarteshu, in their respective functions. Right? The function is not determined by Atma. Atma doesn't determine whether the eye should see or the nose should smell and all that. It is their functions, which it is inherent in them. Atma doesn't determine that. But for them to do that function, the Atma has to give them sentiency. Otherwise, it won't happen. Right? So the functions depend upon the nature of the instrument. For example, electricity does not determine the function of the various gadgets that we have. Electricity blesses all the gadgets, whether it's a fan which rotates, or a light bulb which glows, or an air conditioner which gives you cool air. Similarly, all these instruments, all these gadgets we use have their own functions. Electricity cannot change their functions. But what happens, without electricity, none of them will function. Electricity, any form, direct form or battery form or any form. That electricity is required. Similarly, all these Pancha Koshas, they've got their own functions. but they will not function, they will not be capable of functioning unless the electricity in the form of this Atma Chaitanyam is not, doesn't bless them. Okay. So that is how he is trying to explain the role of Atma Chaitanya. And we must remember that it is only Advaita Vedanta which talks about this Atma Chaitanyam being a Sakshi Chaitanyam, being the Adhyaksha. And that is the message of the Upanishads, and that is what I just now told you about Bhagavad Gita. Also is saying the same thing. Bhagavan Krishna is saying the same thing only. Chapter after chapter, he refers to this only. Wherever Bhagavan Krishna is talking in the capacity of Atma Brahman, Nirupadika Brahman, this is the message he is giving. We must not confuse all the messages he is giving as Saguna Brahman and say that that is the end. The Bhagavad Gita is, that's why it is beautiful. It covers all, thoughts. All philosophies Bhagavad Gita covers. One text, if you read and understand fully, you will understand the entire development of our Indian culture, Hindu philosophy, Sanatana Dharma philosophy, how the whole process flows and eventually sort of settles down in this Atma or Brahman. But what people do, they will read Bhagavad Gita with that, five blind men with elephant. Whatever they are seeing, they will think that is the message of the Bhagavad Gita. Without reading the full Bhagavad Gita, without understanding the full import of what is being said, that's what people commit the mistake of when they study the Bhagavad Gita. Anyhow, that is a different topic altogether. So, Atma is, in fact, Kenopanishad says, Srotasya srotram manaso manaha yad vacho ha vacham sa upranasya pranaha. Atma is srotasya srotram. Means what? It is the hearer of the hearing, mind of the mind, speech of the speech, and prana of all the pranas. Now, such statement, if you come across without the background, without understanding, they will say, yes, these Panchakoshas have got all this, the hearing faculty and the seeing faculty, speaking faculty, speech faculty, mind, all these things are there. Atma has also got the same faculties, which is a super configuration. That's the meaning people will take literally. If you see what this Kenopanishad mantra says, year of the years means Atma has a year, but that is the year of the years, like, emperor, king of the kings, like that. Super hearer. That's what they will say. That's what they will understand. But only person who has actually gone through Kenopanishad and also other Upanishads and also have a good idea of what Atma is from an Advaita Siddhanta point of view will understand that when you say Srotriyasya Sotram, it means that if you have got the hearing faculty, it is the Atma which is blessing that. That's why you are able to hear. So, in a very figurative way, the Atma is called the hearer of the hearing, or the seer of the sight. So this is all figurative expressions we have to understand, right? So now he comes to the example. Let us come to the example. Yatha suryam alokam ashritya janaha swakriyarteshu vartante. What he says? Here he says, Surya lokam yatha janaha. That's what he says. But we have to understand from the whole context. Yatha suryam alokam ashritya janaha swakriyarteshu vartante. This is the sentence we have to read into this what Adi Shankara has written. So the sunrise is common to all. Alokam here means prakasha. Surya alokam, Surya lokam. We should not take it as Surya lokam, right? Because then the meaning will change. It should be taken as Surya alokam. Surya lokam also we can take, and Vedanta, that is the beauty. Anything you take, we will give a meaning to that from a different perspective rather. And it will be correct meaning from a Vedanta point of view. But let us not do that intellectual exercise now. Let us take it as Surya Aloka. Surya Alokam is Surya Alokam means the Surya Prakasha, the sunrise or the rays of the sun. What do they do? When the sun comes up, it gives life to people. The entire Jagat becomes Jagrat Jagat. From Sushupti and Swapna Avastha, everything comes into Jagrat Avastha. It gives life, the sunlight. When it comes, it gives life to the whole universe. But does the sunlight do anything for that? Nothing. Sannidhi matra. When the sun appears, everybody gets up, the birds get up and they chirp, all animals get up, starting with this, what is that, cock or hen, kodi, kokoroko kodi, starting with that. Human beings, some of them may be the last to get up in the whole thing. Nature gets up faster than unnatural human beings, right? Somebody will get up at 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, like that, even though sun is there. So, similar, that's the example he gives there. Like the Surya, when it comes up, the whole world wakes up. Whole world becomes functional. Everybody goes around their own activities. The birds start chirping and go in search of food. All animals which are all sleeping at night, they all get up and then they are hungry and they are looking for some food rather. Human beings, they will also early, some people early, they will get up. In fact, they will get up before sunrise. In anticipation of the sun rising. Those are all the Sattvika Guna people. They know that I don't need to depend on the sun. I can do everything. I can be functional without the sun coming up also. It is only for Avivekis this sunrise and all is relevant. So, somebody will go for having a bath and doing puja. Somebody will get up and then have a cup of coffee and read the newspaper for the next 3 hours. From left-hand corner to first page, left-hand corner to last page, right and bottom, they will read everything. As if by their reading for 2 hours, they are going to change this entire world. So all these activities, I mean to say that sun energizes all people to get into various activities that they have to do. Similarly, this Atma energizes, you can use that word within quotes, all the Anatma, all these Indriyas to get along with their activities. This is the example it is given, right? And in the example of the sun, everybody or everything goes about with their respective activities. If a cow or a goat goes for grazing in the morning, grazing means grass, eating grass. A human being will not do that, isn't it? So, human being, whatever activities human being has to do, he will go about doing that. A cow will go around and in its own activities. Similarly, with the blessing of the Atma, when the Atma energizes this body-mind complex, except when it is in the Sushupti, deep sleep state, where Atma is though present, but it is allowing this body-mind complex to take some rest. Atma doesn't need rest, but Atma knows that body-mind complex, because they are machinery, they are functioning, they need rest. So in all other times, every instrument, every part of the body-mind complex, every indriya go around with their own activities. So this is the second meaning we can understand from the sun example. So it's not only that the sun is energizing this whole world, all the beings, but that energy is used by beings to go about with their own respective activities. Similarly, this Atma is blessing all the Indriyas, and because of which all the Indriyas go about with their own activities. The eyes see, the ear hears, the tongue speaks, all that activities are taking place. Mind thinks, right? And another meaning also we can take. Surya hai eka hai, and it energizes the whole world. This is another very beautiful thing which he says, because there are people who believe, especially I think this Yoga Shastra, there are as many Atmas as there are living beings. That is again where we differ from Yoga Shastra. We say there is only one Atma. So it's like Surya Eka hai, like Akasha hai Eka hai. Their space is one single entity. Just because it is divided into a part space, a room space, and all that does not mean that the space is actually divided. It appears to be divided because of the upadhis. We have seen that example earlier. But like Surya Eka hai, this Atma is also Eka hai. There is only one Atma. There is not different. Your Atma and my Atma are not different. The reflection may be different. The reflection of the Atma in you and the reflection of the Atma in me can be perceived to be two different reflections. But the original source is only one. It is just like, we might have observed that if you are, especially if you are a stage artist or something like that, if you are used to going on stage, bright lights will be there. Now, suppose you are standing on the stage and there is one big bright light from this side is shining on you. So your shadow will be cast on the opposite side of that light, right? One shadow will be there on the screen, back screen or something. And suppose there is another light, focused light shining on you from the left side. Then your shadow will fall on the right side. Right? Now what happens is, you are a single person, but there are two shadows. Both the shadows belong to you only, but appear to be different. Those shadows, for their existence, they depend on you. If you are not standing there, there won't be any shadow. Isn't it? So even though the shadows appear to be different, like that if you have more light, there will be more number of shadows for the same person. So shadows appear to be different, but actually they all represent only one entity. So that is why even though the Atma appears in different bodies, if you remember in Tattva Bodha, we saw that example, that so many water bodies are kept in different kinds of vessels, and we can see the reflection of the sun in each one of them. That does not mean that there are so many suns. The sun is only one, and what we are seeing is the reflection of all those things. So similarly, this Atma or Brahman is one, and what we have to understand is that single Atma, that non-dual Atma, that Advaita Atma is the one which is actually energizing this entire Indriyas to go about their functions, right? All of them are enlivened by that Atma Aham. You must not forget that. When we say Atma, 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 we should not think that there is something else we are talking about. Because all examples, unfortunately, are Surya example, which is not me. Light example, which is not me. Electricity example, which is not me. So you can say Atma is also one of the one like that, which is like electricity and all that, not me. That mistake should not be to me. Then the whole Advaita Vedanta will become Dvaita Vedanta. Right. That consciousness existence principle is me. I am the one which is lending the entire energy, the entire, what you can say, sentiency to all my organs. That is why they are functioning. And I am Satchidananda Atma. That is the message you have to take from this sloka. Okay. Now we will go to the next one. Another beautiful sloka. Dehendriya gunan karmani amale satchidatmane adyasyantya vivekena gagane nilatativat. Another beautiful example he gives here of adhyastha, of the superimposition, right? So earlier slokas, he talked about the vyaparas, functions of the four koshas, the previous sloka he talked about. Now, in this sloka, he is now, see what Adi Shankara is doing, that the idea is the same. But he is actually trying to explain like an excellent teacher from different perspectives. Because, when you are teaching to different students, in what manner every student will understand, you cannot say. But one thing is sure, there will be difference in understanding between students. That's why Vedanta comes up with so many examples. That's why we have got 108 Upanishads. If you just do Kathopanishad, if you study Kathopanishad, then you have understood everything without any doubt. Nisamshaya Jnanam you have got. You don't need to study anything. In fact, why Kathopanishad? Tattva Bodha itself, if you have got that, no need to study anything else. But can we say everybody studying Tattva Bodha will get Atma Jnanam? No way. In fact, no, probably 1 out of 1 billion may get it. For which he should have had the past samskaras. He may get it. So you have to study. So when you study, so let us say Kathopanishad, for some students it will be very crystal clear. Okay, I understood now what is. From Nachiketa's example and from Nachiketa's approach, what Yamadharmaraja is teaching, I understand. But not all of them may be able to say that. So comes another Keno Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad. All these come because different Upanishads will say the same thing, convey the same thing, different words, different orientation, different examples, different standpoint. So that at least some students, each student understands one Upanishad well, then the whole class will have understood this Atma. Because the idea of the Upanishad is not for us to learn the Upanishad mantras. Idea of the Upanishad is for us to understand the import, the implication, the tatparyam of the Mahavakyams, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, etc. Upanishads are not entertainment scriptures. They are not some drama script. We should not think like that. It is presented in that form so that the main message goes into our mind. That is the Tatparya of all Upanishads. Similarly, here also Adi Shankara, what he is trying to do, The same idea he is trying to give from in different slokas from different perspectives. First he took Sharira Trayam, then Panchakosha, then he is Atma, Anatma, then different examples he is quoting for us to understand what exactly is this Atma is all about and how it is different from this Anatma. That is what his approach is. So we must not think that why Shankaracharya is repeating himself from again and again in all the slokas. He is not repeating. If you have understood the previous sloka, you can just listen to this sloka and then, okay, I have already understood this point. But if you have not understood the previous slokas, if this sloka you hear and you understand, then one more person has understood what the Vedanta wants to say. That is his approach. Okay. So here what he is saying, Dehendriya Guna Karmani. Right. That means earlier he generally said Indriya, Indriyarteshu, right? That was the word he used in the previous sloka. Dehendriya Manodhya, he said. One sentence, one samasa. Dehendriya Manodhya. Now he is going little bit further down, one more step. Kosha by kosha he goes. In this sloka, he takes up Annamaya and Pranamaya koshas. So that's why he says Dehendriya Gunan Karmani. Deham and Indriyam only. Earlier he talked about what? Manodhyaha also. But now he has dropped that. Now he goes Dehendriya Gunan Karmani. Right. So there he is now trying to explain. In the next sloka, he will talk about Manomaya Kosha. After that, he will talk about Anandamaya Kosha. That is his approach. Right? And all this he is doing to explain this adhyasa, this superimposition. Right? So here, Deha and Indriya, they stand for what? Annamaya and Pranamaya Kosha. Deha, Annamaya and Indriyas, Pranamaya Kosha. Right? Gunan. Gunan means their attributes. The attributes of the body, Stula Shariram, and also the attributes of the Sukshma Shariram. Right? Sukshma Shariram, mainly the Pancha Pranas, Pancha Indriya, Karmendriyas, Pancha Jnanendriyas. With the Sukshma Sharira, other things, Mano Buddhi and all, not included in this sloka. Right? So what are the gunas of Dehendra? Deha, that is the body. Stulatvam, Krishatvam, Brahmanatvam, Purushatvam, Stritvam, Vriddhatvam, all this, all these are all the gunas are attributes of the body. Being fat, lean, tall, short, young, old, all these things, right? All these belong to the Stula Sharira. Then what are the Pranamaya Kosha's attributes? Hunger, thirst, and what else you can say? Breathing. All these are attributes of the Pranamaya Kosha. Right? And so Gunan is attributes and Karmani is his functions. Gunan Karmani. Right? So what is the difference between Guna and Karma? Guna is something which is there permanently. Isn't it? For example, Stulatva, somebody is fat, for a long period of time he will be fat. Whereas the functions are shorter period, they are anitya, impermanent. For example, talking, walking and all that, they are all functions of the body. But they happen for some time and then they don't have. So, Guna is longer period, the Karmaniya shorter period. What he wants to say, that whether it is guna or karmani, whether those attributes are stay with this anatma for a longer time or a shorter period, both of them are dravya ashrita. Both are depending on the matter only, right? They depend upon some dravya. Here it is annamaya and pranamaya, right? So dehendriya gunan karmani adhyasanti atmani. So people superimpose upon atma the chaitanya, this guna and karma of the dehendriya. And this we know because we say I am fat. We don't say my body is fat. All these things we know. Right? I am hungry. I am thirsty. This is what we say, right? And what is the nature of the Atma? He says Satchidatmani. So Satchidatmani we have seen Satchit Atmani, right? So Atma does not have Stulatvam, Krishatvam, and Astu, Ananu, all those things rather, right? All the attributes and functions do not belong to the Atma. It is Satchit Swarupa. But then somebody can take one argument. He'll say, okay, Atma doesn't have these attributes, fine. But because Atma is closely associated with these functions and gunas, why can't the Atma take these attributes? Like for example, you are wearing a very white dress and you sit in a place which has got some stain, and the stain gets absorbed in the white. Similarly, Atma being very close to this Dehendriya, Guna and Karma, why can't Atma also take these attributes? The question can come, right? Because of Sangha Dosha. Sangha Dosha can take place. And that's what we do also, you know. See, we would say, my son is very good. But his neighbor's son, he's spoiling him. Sangha Dosha is there. And if you ask the neighbor, he will say the same thing. He'll say, my son is good, but this fellow's son is spoiling. So this can happen. So Atma, even though it is very good, it is, doesn't have any guna or attributes. Because of Sangha Dosha with the Dehendriya, it can assume all those attributes. And in order to dismiss that, he says Amale. Beautiful word he uses, Amale. Amale here means Shuddha hai. Asanga hai. Amale. Pure. There is no impurity in Atma. It cannot be made impure. Because it is Asanga hai. You cannot give the example of white cloth and the dirty patch, because as we saw earlier, both these things have the same degree of reality, so Sangatvam can take place. Whereas between Atma and this Dehendriya, they are different degree of reality. Paramarthika Satyam and Vyavaharika Satyam, they can never have Sangha. You've seen this idea earlier, but that again he is using, by using the word Amale, he is emphasizing that point that nothing can actually be attributed to Atma. Atma cannot take these functions at all. If at all it is taking these functions, appears to be taking these functions because of your Ajnana. My dear student, because you don't know what the nature of this Atma is, and you are the one who is superimposing everything. Atma by its own is Asanga hai. So that is the word Amale he uses here, right? Avivekena Amale, yeah. Dehendriya Gunan Karmani Amale Sachidatmani Adhyasyanti Avivekena. because of aviveka, because of ignorance, avidya, this superimposition is taking place, right? So amale means nitya shuddha swarupa, asanga swarupa, right? So then he says, Gagane Nilatadivat is the example he gives, Drishtanta. We talk about blue skies, isn't it? Is the sky blue? Sky is space. There is no color for the sky. But we actually superimpose a blue color on the sky. Right? So, the Akasha is Nitya Shuddha Swarupam only. Nothing can, no Akasha cannot, space cannot take any attribute. That is why next to the Atma or Brahman, space is the subtlest concept, principle. Sukshma Tarah. If Atma is Sukshma Tamah, this is Sukshma Tarah. Right? It is pure. But then what? Bala hai, Avivekina hai, ignorant people, Ajnanis, they will say, oh, the sky is blue. Whereas there is no color to the sky. So, Akashe Neela Varnam Adhyasanti. Blue color is being superimposed on the Akasha. We don't need to go into the details because Akasha example we have talked about a lot earlier also, right? So, originally Akashe Neelatvam Nasti. But because of Aviveka, Ajnana, the Neelatvam is Adhyasanti, it is superimposed. Similarly, Atma is Amalaha. It is pure, it is Shuddha, it is Asanga, but because of our Ajnanam, we are superimposing all the Dehendriya, Guna and Karma on the Atma. That is what is the message here. Okay. So now we will read the next sloka and then stop and then continue in the next class. Right? 3 minutes are there. As I told you, now he dealt with the two koshas there, isn't it? Annamaya and Pranamaya. Now Manomaya kosha he talks about, right? Ajñātān manāso pādhe kartrtvādini chātmani kalpyante mbugate chandre chalanadiyatam bhasaha. So here he gives the Manomaya kosha, Guna, Karma, the Karmani, Adhyasa, he talks about. So Adhyasa, Guna and Karma of the Manomaya kosha on the Atma, it is being discussed here. So we will see the details in the next class. Okay, I'll say the prayers and any questions we will address. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all. Any prashna, questions? ஒண்ணும் இல்லையா? இவருக்கு எப்படி இருக்கு? How is நம்ம இவர் குபேரன்? ராதாஜி தான் தெரியும். ராதாஜி.
He is okay.
Okay. Okay.
He is improving.
Still taking rest, huh?
Ama.
Okay. Right. Just if you see him, give my regards to him.
Sure, Mama.
Okay. Right?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, mama. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Okay.
We will close this session and continue on next Tuesday. Okay.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.